What's up, people? It's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. But today I'm not going to be dropping too much knowledge. I'm going to be doing a betting recap, a 2021 betting recap. So not too much to recap, but since the UFC's come back, they've put on 3 fight cards already, 3 in 2 weeks, 3 in 1 week, basically. We had a Saturday card, then a midweek card, and we had another Saturday card. And I just wanted to go over the bets that I've placed, the bets that I've lost, the bets that I've won, and just basically recap exactly how I've done and how I've started off the year. So for those of you who are new to my videos, I'm a professional sports bettor and I bet on mixed martial arts. That's the only sport I bet on. It's the only sport I know about. It's the only sport I'm good at. So that's the only sport I bet on. Last year, we won 60 units, which is a very high amount of units to win. For those of you who do not know what a unit is, I suggest you go and research sports betting and then you will know exactly what that is. But basically, like anything in life, I want to do better year on year, right? I'm still learning as a sports bettor. I'm still young in the game, even though I have been betting on sports for over 10 years. I still class myself as a learner. I'll always class myself as a learner, and I'm bidding to do better than I did last year. And we have actually started off the year very well. We've started off the year better than I could have hoped for, just because there has been some crazy things happening on the card, a lot of underdogs coming through, a lot of crazy underdogs that you probably wouldn't back. And so I'm happy the way we started off the year. As always, if you want to find out more about my results, you can go to the link in the bio. You can check out my results. You can check out my website, membership packages, all of that good stuff. But I'll get straight into the video. And I will let you guys know that I'm actually third-party tracked, which means that whatever I'm telling you, whatever bets I'm telling you, whatever record I say I have, I cannot fake. So I'm signed up to the best MMA bet tracking website in the world, which is betmma.tips. And on there, you will find all my bets, which I have to place before the fights happen. So I cannot fake. And I've got my page up here, and I'm going to bring up my page so you can see exactly what bets I have done over the year, and we can jump into the recap. What's up, Anaconda? Thanks for being here. Yeah, you know, we got that lucrative merch. They're not for sale yet. It's just for me, but maybe one day I'll get it for sale. All right, jump straight into the video. I'll just make it bigger here. All right. Right, so as you can see, this was the first event right here. Hopefully you can see this. I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you can see. So the first event the UFC put on when they come back was on the 16th of January. So we did have a little bit of break, which was good, to be honest, because I was able to delve very deep into tape, more deep than I usually delve, and I usually delve very deep anyway. And we did have 3 events in 1 week. So that 3-week break definitely helped me, reset, look over my bets from 2020, try and improve, see what I did wrong, see what I did right in 2020, and then also gave me more time for tape. I also did spend a lot of that 3 weeks making a sports betting fundamentals course, which is available for anyone who purchases a membership package on my website. It basically takes you through all the basics, all the fundamentals you need to know to be a professional sports bettor and actually earn money from sports betting. So that was good. So that break was good, but I was eager to get back into it. And we started off the year not so good. We lost half a unit. But I wasn't too unhappy with my bets, except for one bet. So let's just start from the top of the list here. The first pick I made was Jocelyn Edwards as a plus 150 underdog against Yanan Wu. Now, I was very happy here because I beat the line by a mile. The line actually closed at about minus 110 pick'em. So I got in at plus 150, and yeah, I was very happy with that. When I was watching tape on this fight, I just saw that Yanan Wu wasn't very impressive. I knew she wasn't very impressive anyway. She was coming off a fight where she lost against Mizuki Inoue. It was a split decision, but I thought it should have been a unanimous decision. And Mizuki Inoue was moving up like 2 weight classes. I do think Mizuki is a pretty skilled fighter, but it wasn't a good look. Someone like Yanan Wu, who's a big girl for the weight class anyway, was losing to someone 2 weight classes below her. Now you can fact check me. It may have been one weight class below her, but either way, the weight difference was pretty substantial. The size difference, I should say, was substantial, and I just didn't look like what I saw on the feet from Wu, to be honest. Jocelyn Edwards, on the other hand, had not fought in the UFC, so she was making her UFC debut. And it is always a bit of a risk when you're betting on fighters making a UFC debut, because you don't know how the skills are going to transfer. Well, the skills that they've been displaying on the regional scene, you don't know how they're going to transfer, in the UFC. But in my opinion, she wasn't fighting a quote-unquote UFC level fighter. She was fighting a regional level fighter, in Yanan Wu. So I didn't take too much stock into that. But I did think that Yanan Wu was probably one of the hardest opponents that she was facing. So I was a little bit worried, but at plus 150, I was happy to take the shot. Plus 150 is saying that Jocelyn Edwards has 40% chance of winning the fight. That's the implied probability of the plus 150 line. And I believe that this fight was at least, at the very minimum, a 50-50. So I found myself with about a 10 to 15% edge on that bet. And I pulled the trigger, 1 unit, and we ended up cashing 1.5 units there. Jocelyn Edwards, 30-27 there. She never looked in danger. There was one moment where an armbar was present, but I mean, it was easy to defend by Jocelyn Edwards, really, even though the armbar attempt did go on for a couple of minutes, And sorry, just thinking back there, I believe Jocelyn Edwards had the armbar attempt, but Yanan Wu, think she did have one submission attempt. But anyway, basically Edwards bossed the fight and she won 30-27. So he was very happy with that. It was a good start to the betting year and it's a very solid bet in my opinion. So the next fight, as you can see here, this was my best bet on the card, I would say. But, there's an argument that Jocelyn Edwards was also one of the best bets. But I had 3 units on Ramazan Emeev to win by decision at plus 100. I was happy to get plus money for this because Ramazan Emeev was a big favorite against David Zawada. And not only that, it was a big favorite, but the decision, Ramazan Emeev always wins by decision. He's very similar to Movsar Evloev, who just fought on the weekend, gone, in the fact that he doesn't really get many stoppages, especially not in the UFC. Evloev was getting a few stoppages on the regional scene, and he's fighting an M1 Global. It's not the worst organization at all. But when he came to the UFC, like most people, the stoppages tend to slow down quite a bit. And it was the same for Emeev. And I just didn't see Emeev finishing Zawada, right? And the fight was kind of back and forth. Actually, one judge did score it for Zawada. I had it pretty clear for Ramazan Emeev. I don't really think there's an argument for David Zawada winning the fight. But it was a close fight, There can be no argument for a person winning a fight and it still be a close fight, right? Because people conflate the two. Like if it's a close fight, instantly people are going to scream robbery, but that's not the case. If there's a close fight, it is possible that even though it's a close fight, one guy should definitely win and there's no argument for the other guy. And in my opinion, this is what it was. But I'm not going to say I understand the judge giving it to Zawada because I don't really. I don't think there was an argument, but I do know that these things can happen, right? So I accept it. It's UFC, it's MMA betting, which is atrocious from times. And so anytime you have a close fight, you are running the risk of, losing out on a decision. So although I definitely thought Emeev had the decision, I wasn't too worried when it was going to the scorecards. A little bit was inside of me thinking, God damn, you never know, right? And Zawada had a couple good moments in that he got on top of... Zawada got on top of Emeev at one point and, he mounted him. So I thought, fuck, that's a bit dangerous. But overall, I'm happy with my bet. If I was to play Emeev by straight, Emeev's money line, I would not be happy with that bet because he was like 300 favorite. I believe that was an almost terrible bet. But Emeev by decision, I got that at plus money. It's underdog odds, right? So I was very happy with that bet, to be honest. The fight played out almost how I thought it would be. I did think that Emeev would be in some tricky spots. And actually, you can see that I thought that because I actually put half a unit on David Zawada to win by submission. So I actually hedged this fight. Now, I'm finding myself doing a lot more hedges lately just because MMA is so crazy. The variance is so crazy. And sometimes the odds you can get on an underdog to finish a specific way make it so easy for you to make a hedge, right? So the odds are so heavy that you don't have to put a lot on to hedge. And then if you win your main bet on the favorite, which is what I usually do, you don't lose much in the way of your hedge, if you understand that, if I'm making sense. So that's what I found here. So it was plus 700 for Zawada to win by submission. Zawada had just won by submission in his last fight, choking out one of Amiv's teammates, actually. I don't know if they're teammates, but they definitely trained together before. They're both from Dagestan. It was actually Khabib's cousin or brother, one of the two. It was Abubakar Nurmagomedov, right? So Zawada submitted him with a triangle choke. And Zawada is pretty tricky off his back. And I knew that Amiv will be going for takedowns consistently, like he always does. So I did see Zawada possibly getting a submission at some point. I didn't think it was likely, but I was happy to put half a unit on a hedge there. So it didn't happen, which is good. If it would have happened, I would have broken even on the fight. And then if Amiv wins, I would win 2.5 units instead of 3 units. And that's exactly what happened. I won 3 units minus the hedge. I won 2.5 units. It was very happy fight for me. The next fight was, or the next bet I should say, was Austin Lingo versus Jacob Kilburn to go under 2.5 rounds. Now, this bet was, it's a tricky one, you know. After it happened, I was going back and forth with myself. I was thinking, was this a good bet or was this a bad bet? And I actually put this out as a free bet in my free bet video. For those of you who do not know, every single week I do a free bet video. I give you guys one free bet from the upcoming card. And this was the bet I did. This was the 5th free bet video I ever did. And it was the first free bet that ever lost. But it wasn't it wasn't a terrible bet in the fact that it did almost cash. Austin Lingo almost knocked Jacob Kilburn out a couple of times in round 1. And I was very shocked that we didn't cash that in round 1, you know. But in hindsight, I do know that Jacob Kilburn is very tough, and I did see that on tape. And what I also saw on tape was that Jacob Kilburn only gets stopped when he's been mounted and he's on the ground, right? But I just thought Austin Lingo would be able to crack the chin. Jacob had lost 3 times only. All 3 losses had come by, I believe they had all come by the way of submission, but they definitely all come by the way of being mounted on the ground, right? So although I didn't really think Lingo would mount Jacob on the ground, I knew Jacob could get stopped. But in hindsight, maybe he can only get stopped on the ground. And I'm not going to say only get stopped. Of course, anyone can get stopped with anything, you know. We've seen it just a weekend gone, you know. No one thought McGregor would get stopped on the feet. Obviously, it's possible for Kilburn to get stopped on the feet. But it just seems like that, you know, if Kilburn's going to get stopped, it's probably going to be on the floor. And that's not Austin Lingo's game. Austin Lingo's a boxer, right? So in hindsight, I'm not going to say it was a great bet, but I won't say it's a bad bet because it almost happened. And the main reason why I'm not saying it's a bad bet is because I got it in at plus 130. This went off about minus 130, minus 125 or something. So again, we beat the line by a mile. And that's what you can really do in sports betting. As long as you beat the lines consistently, you're going to win, right? You're going to win. So I was happy to beat the line there. It's obviously not all about beating the line. You need to cash your bets, right? But it is a big part of sports betting. So I was happy to do that. And yeah, I don't have too much of an opinion. A lot of people are saying this is a good example of a great bet that didn't cash. I'm not going to say that. I don't think it was a great bet that didn't cash. I'm just going to say it was a neutral bet. So you can call that a square bet. But yeah, I don't want to say it's a great bet, but I'm not going to say it's a bad bet. It definitely wasn't a bad bet, but it definitely wasn't a good bet that just didn't cash because I did see on tape that Kilburn only gets stopped on the ground. So, you know, in hindsight, a bit dodgy. Austin Lingo wins in round 1. This is probably a good bet, right? So I'm saying that the last bet wasn't a great bet, but Austin Lingo wins in round 1, you know, at plus 600. This went off at about plus 300. So talk about beating the line. We really beat the line there. I only put half a unit on it, but at plus 600, I mean, he knocked him down like 3 times. You know, I thought he was going to stop him in round 1. It looked like he was going to stop him in round 1. There was a point where the referee almost jumped in. So that bet, it was pretty solid. Maybe I should have just stuck to that one because that was the win condition there. But, you know, I just wanted to give some more time for Lingo to knock him out. And I was saying all week that Kilburn has 1-punch KO power, which I still believe he has. He just doesn't have many skills to land it. So, you know, we lost 2.5 units on there, but I'm not overly unhappy with myself on them reads. In fact, I think they were very solid reads, but in hindsight, you know, you can always learn something. And that's what I've learned, that Kilburn really only gets stopped on the ground. Right, the next fight this was a bad bet, right? At the moment, I've said I haven't done any bad bets on this card, and I'll stick by that. But this next bet was a bad bet. So I had a parlay. I had Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar to go over 2.5 rounds with cash, which cashed. But then I had Buckley versus DiCirico to go over 1.5 rounds. Terrible bet from me. I'm holding my hands up here. So in my betting breakdown, which I send out to my members, anybody who signs up for a membership package with me will obviously receive all my bets. They'll receive the training courses as well, but they will also receive a betting breakdown, right? Where I basically give my analysis of my bets. So I don't want my members just blindly tailing my picks. Look, they can if they want, and they're still going to earn money. And it's actually probably easier, right? Because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to watch me. All they do is just put the bets on and check the betting account. And over the year, they will have earned money. But I like to give my members some insight into why I'm betting on something so they can learn a thing or two, right? About my process, my breakdowns, all of that stuff. So in my breakdown, I said that, look, guys, we've got a plus 130 bet here. We've got a plus 100 bet here. We've got a plus 600 bet here. And we've got a plus 700 bet here. And we've got a plus 150 bet here. So all of the 4 bets I've mentioned there, or all the 5 bets, were all plus money bets, right? But the Buckley one, the Buckley over 1.5 rounds, was like minus 188, right? And I said on my betting breakdown that this is the only bet that I'm actually worried about, right? So I kind of knew it would. Like, I didn't think Chirico would knock him out in the first round, but I wasn't sold on Buckley's chin. And I know it wasn't Buckley's chin's fault that he got knocked out, because that would have knocked out a horse. But I wasn't sold on Buckley's chin before the fight. And I know how hard Buckley hits, and he comes out like a train in that first round. So I was worried about that bet. I shouldn't have bet that bet. I regret betting that bet. And it actually ended up causing us a losing night, because I put 2 units on that. And we ended up losing half a unit. Look, it's nothing in the long term. Half a unit is not a lot, but if I didn't bet that, we would be up 1.5 units and would have cashed on every single card, right? Which is solid for the first 3 cards of the year, because not many people can say that. But anyway, it's hindsight. That card for me, I had some solid reads on that card. I had some solid bets on that card. I had some unluck on that card, and I had 1 bad bet on that card. So I'm not going to kick myself. I feel like I've done pretty well on that card, even though I've lost. So, what's up, Pillow Bricks? Thanks for being in here, bro. Nice to see you. Pillow Fist is saying, great job being up after the first 3 cards. Yeah, I'm very happy to be up after the first 3 cards. Just looking at the community, many people are down. Most people are down. And, it's not surprising why. We've got Poirier knocking out Conor McGregor on the feet. We've got Marino Rodriguez KOing Amanda Ribas. We've got DiCirico KOing Joaquin Buckley. So a lot of craziness has happened over the first 3 cards, and a lot of people have felt that craziness, and a lot of people have lost. Some really sharp guys I respect are not up as well. But at the end of the day, it does not matter, right? It's a long game, and I'm sure a lot of them people will be up by the end of the year, but I'm definitely grateful that I'm able to be in profit over the first 3 cards. And, I'm looking to carry it on when we hit February. So I'll go straight into the next card. Now, this was the midweek card. We're meant to have Chimaev versus Edwards on this, but it got cancelled. Very unfortunate there. I am a big fan of Chimaev. I am on the hype train, and I was really looking forward to see him fighting Leon Edwards. So this card was, as you can see, a very, very solid card for me. It was basically a clean sweep, because the only 2 bets I've lost were over plus 1,000. So it wasn't like I expected to win them. I only put 0.25 units and 0.41 units as a hedge on them. So basically a clean sweep on this card for me. The first bet I had here was a max play. As you can see, there's 11 unit bet there. 11 unit is max play for me. And so I don't do max plays a lot. I only do max plays when I see value on the line, and I also think it's a very high probability of happening. So you won't see me max play a minus 110 unless I see him winning the fight like 80% of the time, right? Which you're never going to get. You're never going to get a minus 110, which you cap at 80%. Like, it's very unlikely, right? I doubt it very much. So most of my max plays are pretty chalky, because it's a high likelihood that they're going to win. But I don't just bet chalk unless I see value on the line. At the end of the day, sports betting is all about value. You have to find value. So even though, I'm betting chalk at times, I always see value on the line. And I'll talk a little bit about that here. So we got in at Ricky Simone at minus 325, right? He actually went off about minus 500, minus 550. So again, we beat the line by a mile. And that's why it's good to get in early. And that's why it's good to have someone who's immersed in a sport, because they can look at early lines. And we didn't jump on an opening line. We didn't do anything like that. I do not tip opening lines. I tip lines only when they have settled. So we got on this about a week before the fight, so it's not like a month before the fight. I never ever tip anything that can't be bet. And I never tip a line that isn't out. And I never tip a line that was only out for a second, right? I can't do that. So we got on it minus 325, and then it slowly moved up and come fight times like minus 550. So minus 325, right? That is implying the probability of Ricky Simone winning at about 76%, right? But I capped Ricky Simone at about 86%, all right? More to the 90%. I didn't want to say 100%, 90, because 90% is the max I cap any MMA fighter at, right? So 100%, I never cap an MMA fighter at winning 100% of the time, because there's so much variance in MMA, right? Maybe there's a random injury, their leg might just pop randomly, right? Or referee might make a really bad mistake. Herb Dean almost made a mistake with the Rodriguez fight the other day. The judges, we get terrible, terrible judges. By the way, when I'm doing a max play, most of the time I want my guys to be able to finish, to take it out of the judges' hands. But, the judges, there's many, many things, or disqualifications, right? There's many, or just random KOs in round one, which happens like flying knees, Ben Askren, Masvidal, like how many times that's going to happen out of 100? Not many. So I never cap anyone above 90%, just because MMA is the craziest game that has ever existed, right? But I capped Ricky at about 90%. I just saw the skill gap was absolutely ridiculous. And I haven't actually watched this fight because I was very sick when this card was on, and it was on at 3 a.m. where I live. So, coupled with me being sick and it being on at 3 a.m, I just wanted to get my sleep so I could feel better. So I didn't actually watch any of this card. I will go back and watch it, of course. I want to see how my reads did. But I did watch some highlights of the card over the last coming days. And then I've been told that, Ricky Simone basically dominated him. People were telling me that the max play, it deserved to be a max play. Minus 325 was insane value. And that's the thing, guys, value. You hear a lot about value in sports betting, but value doesn't mean underdogs, right? I put up a tweet the other day. I just retweeted a tweet the other day that somebody said that at some point in sports betting, value has morphed into underdogs. There can be value on the minus 300 line. There was value on Ricky Simone at minus 300, right? So it's not all about betting underdogs. That's not how you always get value. You can get value in many, many ways. You can get value plus money. You can get value in minus money, chalk money. So that's what we did here. 11 units to win 3.4 units. That's a bargain. That's a bargain, guys. It's my very solid read. I mean, it's an easy read, but it was, not much more to say about that. My max play cashed, and my max plays continue to cash. I've never missed a max play. I've had 5 max plays to date, and they have all cashed for us. So I was happy to cash another one. The next bet I had was Manon Fiorot against Victoria Leonardo. Very solid bet here, I would say. I got in at minus 160. She closed at minus 200. Again, smashed the line. Look, you can see there's a pattern here, guys. We're smashing a line with almost every single bet, right? When I say smashing a line, we're beating the closing line. As I said, sports betting, long term, you want to be beating the closing line. So we've been doing that all year, and I'm going to continue to do that. And that's why one of the reasons I believe I'm up in profit this year, although it's only early days. So, yeah, I haven't seen this fight. As I said, I haven't seen the card, but apparently Fiorot dominated and actually knocked her out with a head kick in the second round. So I was very happy to cash that 1.6 units to win 1 unit, and started a very solid card off for us, because I believe that was the first or second fight on the card. Right, the next bet we had was Tom Breeze to win in round 3. Look, guys, this was plus 1,000. I don't have any regrets on this. I put a quarter of a unit on it. Do you know what I mean? And Mario Akhmedov gasses in many, many fights, and I didn't know how good Tom Breeze was. I wasn't happy to be back in Tom Breeze. as I said, I did not know how good he is, and it turns out that he's not great, right? He's not top 15. He's not top 20 probably. He's probably like that fringe top 20, 25 in the UFC, and he ended up getting beat by Amir Akhmedov there. So not much to say about that. You know, it is what it is. The next fight was this was actually a hedge. So on my max play, I played a hedge because the only way I saw Ricky Simón losing was a random KO in round one. Like I told you about earlier, MMA variants, KOs in round one happen often. You know, like Simón got KO'd in round one by Uriah Faber. I think if they fight 100 times, Faber probably knocks him out in round one, maybe twice, you know, so it's very unlikely. But I did see, you know, if anything, Perillo could catch him early. And so what I did was I put 11 units on Simón, right? And that actually brought back 3.41 units. It's saying 3.38 here. I don't know why, but it's actually brought back 3.41 units. So what I did was I took that 41 units that we would have won if Simón wins, and I put that on a plus 1100 bet for Perillo to win in round one. So if Perillo did win in round one, we would get about half our stake of our max play back, right? We get about half the stake of it back. But if he didn't win in round one, we would still win 3 units instead of 3.4 units from Simón. So again, I was happy to do the hedge. I know it's not some people's style, but this is MMA betting, and anything can happen. It's a crazy game. So I have been doing a lot more hedges lately, and I will continue to do that because it just gives me some peace of mind while watching the fights. And I believe long term, some of them will come through. And as I say, MMA is a crazy game. Next bet we had was 2.5 unit parlay. I was going to make this heavier, but because we had a max play on Ricky Simón, I didn't really want to go too heavier as he was included in the parlay. Sumu Daji apparently dominated Adeshev. I think he got hurt once in the fight, but he 30-27'd him, so I was happy about that. Didn't watch the fight. As I say, Simón, again, complete domination by Simón. As you can see here, guys, when we got on Simón, he had actually changed price. So like you can see here, it's like $1.29, right? But when we got on him initially, it was $1.31. So you can see here how what this means is basically I'm being completely honest about my bets, right? Because, you know, at the end of the day, I could have put Simón in at $1.31 and we would have cashed a little bit more than $1.52. But when I sent my bets out to members, right, Simón had actually gone down in price. Like I said, he went off at like minus 500. We beat the line. So he went down in price to $1.29. And so that's the odds I put in. I just want to say that because I know a lot of people will probably be on Bet MMA tips, and you can put in whatever odds you want, right? Like there's no one holding you accountable. So yeah, I just want to say that, you know, although I can't fake my bets, I can fake the odds. And at the end of the day, if I start faking the odds, people will realize, right? Because they're going to know this guy was never this odd. But, you know, when it changed only a little bit like this, I could have easily done it. But, you know, I'm here to be honest, and there's no morality in doing that, especially when people are giving me their money, you know, or basically people are betting with their own money on my advice. I'm here to be honest. So just wanted to point that out. You know, I think a lot of guys are fucking terrible in this industry. You know, the betting industry is full of sharks, full of dirty bastards, to be honest. You know, fake Instagram touts, fake Twitter touts, people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, just take money from people. This sickens me, to be honest, you know. So, you know, it sickens me because it's people's money, but I'm not going to go on a rant. This is a recap video. So, but I just wanted to bring that one up. But look, the next card, guys, I thought this was going to be a big card for us because we started off very well. It ended up being not a great card, but a lot of people lost on this card. So I was happy to come out in the green. Andrew Jack, thank you for being here as well, my brother. Lots of underdogs cashed in the weekend. Happy to be up, as you say. Yes, smart guy. You know how to play this game. It's a long-term game, and lots of underdogs did cash on the weekend, and a lot of people lost on the weekend, right? Usually when underdogs cash, a lot of people win because people like to back underdogs, but these underdogs, they just didn't have any backing. You know, I know a few people on Marina Rodriguez, but for the most part, people are probably parlaying Rebus, and I don't think hardly anyone was on Dustin Poirier. You know, I definitely wasn't, as you will see in a minute. So, yeah, I'm super happy to be up right now, but it's only going to get better, you know. It's only going to get better. So, yeah. Pillow Fist is saying those 1 a.m. cards were rough. Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. I'm in New Zealand, so one of the cards, the first fight was at 3 a.m. You know, it was kind of lucky I was sick because I actually woke up at 2:40, you know, to watch it. Like I didn't even set my alarm, but it just went off at 2:40 a.m. I guess my body clock, you know, was like waiting for the 3 a.m. fight, and I woke up at 2:40. But I just felt so bad, man. I went back to bed, got back up at like 6 a.m. or something, and just caught the highlights and the Twitter thing. But yeah, them 1 a.m. cards are terrible. I used to do them all the time when I lived in the UK. But luckily now, where I'm living, the fights start at about 10 a.m. On a Sunday. So it's really, really good, you know. It's probably even better than having them, you know, at the normal time in America, like 7 p.m. I do like having them on Sunday. It's a real chill day. And yeah, thank God we're not going back to any crazy times. I don't think we are anyway. I don't want to speak too soon because I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure most of them will be on a, you know, regular time now, which is good for me anyway. Not good for my fellow UK people back home. But anyway, next card. So as I mentioned, not a great card, but I'd say 90% of MMA bettors lost on this card. So I'm very happy to be in the minority here, even though it was a small win. So yeah, the first bet, very, very solid bet. Movsar Evloev to win via decision. Now, what I will say is that a solid bet was also Evloev to win by stoppage. So yes, sports betting is contradictory sometimes. Well, MMA betting, and I won't say sports betting, but I'll say MMA betting because, you know, there was value on Evloev inside the distance because it looked like at some point he was going to stop him. But at the end of the day, there was huge value on Evloev to win by decision, especially at the price I got it for, because he always wins by decision and Lentz is tough as fuck. And at the end of the day, he did win by decision because Lentz was tough as fucks and Evloev's not a finisher. So in fact, there was value on both them lines there. So I jumped in at minus, which is weird, right? It's weird to say that there's value on him inside the distance and there's value on him by decision. But it is, and you know, if you disagree with me, please tell me what your argument, because I really feel that there's a solid argument for value on both them lines. Anyway, we got in at minus 135. Again, this closed at about minus 160. So again, we beat the line, and it's very important because if we didn't beat the line, if we got into minus 160, we'd have to put more on to win what we won back, right? So you're gonna have to risk more, and over time, all your bets, some of your bets are going to lose. So you're risking more, so you're losing more. And in fact, you're winning less, you know, unless you're risking more. So like either way, if you risk the same, you're going to win less. And if you risk more, you're going to lose more. So, you know, getting in early, and not just getting in early, but beating the line, because a bet that we had later on the card, we got in early, but we actually didn't beat the line. One of the first times of the year, I actually got beat by the line. So I'll get onto that in a bit. But basically, Evloev dominated that fight, 30-27 dim. You could have given 10-8 to Evloev in that third round. And yeah, I mean, it's easy cash for us. I was sweating a little bit, thinking that Nick Lentz might be finished. He might get finished by Evloev. But at the end of the day, you know, what I thought would happen happened. I knew Evloev would dominate. I knew Nick Lentz would be hurt in the fight. And I thought he'd pull it through and be tough and not get stopped. And that's exactly what happened. So the next fight I had was Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. McGregor wins inside the distance. Look, I can't regret the bet. Obviously, I regret the bet. I mean, yeah, obviously, if it happened again, I wouldn't bet it. But now I know. We've got questions on McGregor now. Before, I don't think anyone could have predicted Poirier to knock McGregor out early, you know, early on in that second round. Like maybe late, but not early. I don't want to make this a Conor recap, but I do want to go into Conor quickly because, you know, a lot of people are talking about mentality and stuff. And look, obviously, he hasn't really been fighting at all. You know, since he fought Floyd, his mindset completely changed. Since he knocked out Aldo, he thought he was invincible. He hasn't been fighting that much since then. You know, it's hard to get up at 5 a.m. and do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. You know, word to whoever said that, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Ray Robinson. Someone said that, famous boxer. I can't remember now. Bad memory. You know me by now. Bad memory. But, you know, obviously that comes into it. But look, the main factor with this fight and just in general, McGregor, is that like what he's become now is that he's fighting at not his optimal weight class. Now, I know he sucked himself down to get to 145 and he did not look good. But at the end of the day, a lot of fighters do that. And, you know, a lot of fighters are huge in there. Khabib almost died from cutting weight, right? John Jones, I'm not saying he ever found it hard to make 205, but, you know, a lot of times he doesn't look great making 205. And he's always much heavier than the guys he fights. Max Holloway, very hard to make featherweight, though he's always made it, but, you know, definitely struggles getting down there. And he's a monster at featherweight. So a lot of people do it, you know, so you can't just say just because it's, you know, just because he looks terrible on the scales means that he shouldn't fight there. Obviously, health-wise, he shouldn't fight there, but just for sheer performance and what he looks like at 145, it's a completely different fighter. McGregor at 155 is a boxer, right? After he fought Floyd, he fell in love with his hands. You know, he fought Floyd Mayweather, right? He fought the greatest boxer of all time. After that, he linked up with his old boxing coach in Crumlin Boxing Club, and he actually had him in his corner for the Dustin Poirier fight. He thinks he's a boxer now. He's not an MMA fighter. I don't know what the fuck happened to the guy. And also, he can't fight on the outside. Like, he can't do that dancing Wonder Boy style that he used to do because his frame is much heavier. His frame is much bigger now. So he can't do them crazy spinning kicks. When he fought Dustin Poirier, the first fight, he opened up with a hook kick. You know, when do you see him throw a hook kick now? You know, he did throw a spinning heel kick, but it was out of desperation. He was getting battered at that point by Dustin Poirier. He was getting beat up, right? It wasn't getting battered, but he was getting beat up. And, you know, I think he just threw it out of desperation. You know, he doesn't even really throw many leg kicks anymore. He doesn't throw much side kicks. I don't think he throw any teeps in a Poirier fight. You know, for a couple against Eddie, but even in Eddie, he was more of a Eddie Alvarez fight. He was more of a boxer. His style, his optimal style is not suited to 155 plus. It's suited to 145. He was one of the best fighters we've ever seen at 145. You know, he's one of the best fighters of all time in MMA when he was at 145. But, you know, one good performance against Eddie Alvarez does not mean that, you know, 155 is his best weight class. Maybe that was his best performance, Eddie Alvarez, you know. I mean, you could argue Aldo was. I know it was a one-punch KO, but, you know, you could also argue Poirier 1 was. You know, he looked absolutely dominant there. He was so good. He coming out of a spinning hook kick, you know. He hurt Poirier. He was talking to him. He's laughing at him, you know. He's up and down. Beautiful performance. So, yeah, look, Eddie may be in his perfect performance, but it doesn't mean that that's his best weight class. Look, I just wanted to go into that. I am pretty passionate in regards to McGregor because I believe at 145 he was such a good fight and so beautiful to watch. You know, so loose, so fluid. We've never really seen anything like that in the sport before. You know, the most similar you could say is maybe someone like Sean O'Malley, but he'd never done it. He's never done it at that high level. Other than that, maybe Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but he didn't have the hands. He didn't have the one punch Conor did, you know. So he doesn't have the hook kicks and stuff. I mean, kind of, but it's different. It's different, you know. So doesn't have the aggression and stuff. But anyway, look, McGregor, he's different. He's a different man now. And basically, I think I was basing a lot of the bet that I put on here. Let's get back to the bets now. I put a 2.5 unit bet on McGregor to win inside the distance. I think I base a lot on that, on who McGregor used to be. You know, he's not that fighter anymore. But I didn't know that because he had fought Cowboy. He ran through Cowboy. A lot of people can run through Cowboy. He's very fragile in that first round. But, you know, Eddie Alvarez, Cowboy, like Khabib, don't worry about Khabib. He's a wrestler. You know, Khabib will do that to anyone. But I think in my head, McGregor was still this bouncing on the toes type guy, you know, in and out side kicks to set up the strikes. He's not that anymore, guys. He looks slow. He looks pretty stiff. Dustin Poirier was outboxing him at times. He was throwing lazy jabs. Poirier was countering over the top, pointing at him. McGregor's a flat-footed boxer now. You know, he comes out with this stance. It's crazy what's happened to Conor McGregor. It really is. And, you know, I learned my lesson there. McGregor's not the same fighter as he was. He's completely different at 155 than 145. And I wasn't sure of that. So that was the bet there. And McGregor knocked him out before, you know, so I thought he'd do it again. Anyway, moving on. Evloev to win and Tavares to win in the parlay. Now, Tavares, I was pretty annoyed here because this is a solid bet, but I got it at minus 150. It went off at like a pick'em. So I butchered the line there. I absolutely butchered the line. When I taped the fight, I saw Tavares with a clear path to victory, right? A lot of people want ACJ, Antonio Carlos Jr., which was his opponent in this fight. And I was on Tavares, right? And I do like that when the whole world is on my opponent because, oftentimes it seems that when everybody's on someone, they lose, So I was very happy to be on Tavares there. Gave me good vibes going into the fight. And he virtually dominated the fight, I mean, like, he didn't do too much. He got held up against the cage for periods, but he dropped Carlos Jr. in that fight. And, he just picked him apart on the feet when he needed to. A lot of people are on ACJ, and I know why. He's so strong. He gets his fight to the ground all the time. And, even when he loses, it looks like maybe he could win that fight. Like that Uriah Hall fight, I think he definitely could have won that fight. That Ian Heinisch fight, that fight could have been called for him as well. Like, he's tough to bet against. I didn't want to bet against him because when I watched ACJ, right, I taped this fight. I watched ACJ first. I was like, fuck, I really want to bet on this guy. Hopefully Tavares has shit takedown defense. I didn't really remember his takedown defense. I watched it and I saw that kid defend takedowns, right? Just like so beautiful, so beautiful at defending takedowns. And I found myself getting turned into a Tavares better, right, as it was happening, as I was watching these fights. Talis latest, loads of fighters he fought. I can't remember them now, but his takedown defense was elite. And I think he actually showed his best takedown defense in the fight with Carlos Jr. I did think Carlos Jr. may get him to the ground once or twice, but what Tavares does is that even if he gets to the ground, he puts his hand out to stop him from falling all the way down. Obviously, he can't do that on every takedown defense, but he does do it on a lot. And so even if he does get half taken down, he just straight back up. And man, I really saw Tavares defending takedowns and picking apart Carlos Jr. on the feet. And that's exactly what happened. And that was actually my best bet of the year by far, I would say. I'm very happy with that bet. I'm not happy that I got him on minus 150, but as I said, I beat the line on basically every other bet I've had this year. So, it is what it is. And I had that in a parlay of Movsar Evloev to win, who dominated. So that was a very solid bet there. And then this last fight, man, I'm unhappy with myself. Maybe I should have backed the over 2.5 because the over 2.5 would have cashed. But instead, I backed the fight goes to decision. I got greedy. I kind of got greedy because maybe, Sanchez got finished in round 3 a lot of times. So maybe I would have thought that Sanchez maybe might gas. And so I should just go over 2.5 if anything, because if he's gassed, I don't want them last 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the fight to sweat for. And that's basically what happened. He got knocked out with 2 minutes left in the fight, just under 2 minutes left, I think. So I had, 120 seconds left, and I would be cashing that bet, and I'll be having a pretty solid night as opposed to a good night on a very bad night for most. But look, there's not much to say. Muradov caught him, but it was annoying because it's not like Sanchez was gassed. And I was speaking to Gagabe on Twitter, and he brought up a good point. He said that that KO could have happened in any round. It wasn't like Sanchez was gassed and got stopped in round 3 like he did in 2 or 3 previous fights before that. It was just that Muradov just caught him, just happened to catch him, but he happened to catch him with 2 minutes left in the fight, which was annoying, for my bet, because I watched that whole fight and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to cash this bet. And then as soon as I said that, literally I lost. But it is what it is. We ended up winning, so as I said, this betting card was ridiculous. Like almost everyone lost. So, I can't be unhappy with 0.4 units of profit, but it does feel like a loss, especially when, you lose that Sanchez and Muradov GTD bet with, with 120 seconds left. And then McGregor, just in my head, I just really believed McGregor was going to stop Poirier. So, it kind of feels like a losing night when you're already up with your first 2 bets. You're up like 5 units, and then you end up only being up half a unit. But again, I really have to look at the community and I look at, who profited that night, and there were few and far between. So very happy with that. That's it. That's the recap done. So over 3 of these cards now, all 3 of these cards, we've profited 5.2 units. Very solid. So January has been a decent month for us. And, you know, I'm hoping to continue it. The next betting card is not next week, or not this weekend, but it's the weekend after. And it's actually a very good card for betting. So I'm very happy about that. I've done a little bit of tape, not much. I'm going to start doing more tape this week and hopefully have some bets out soon, hopefully beat some lines soon. And that's about it, guys. If anybody wants to join up, you can just go on my website. You can look at my results. You can find my results on betmma.tips. As I said, I cannot fake my record. My record is high level. I'm one of the best MMA gamblers in the world. You know, I don't want to sound big-headed, but it is what it is. I believe it. And at the end of the day, it's not about believing it. The results show. I've been in this game for a long time. And, you know, if you want to earn money from betting on MMA, then I would suggest signing up with me, because we smashed it in 2020. We smashed it in 2019. And we're going to smash it in 2021. It is what it is. It's not going to stop now. So, yeah, that's about it for me, guys. I'll catch up with the chat quickly. Andrew saying, well said, James. Appreciate your honesty and transparency. Lots of Twitter scammers out here with fake records. Yeah, thanks for saying that, bro. I appreciate the comment. Yeah, there is. There's lots of Twitter scammers out there. There's lots of fake records out there. I'm not really going to get into it. I've said what I said about it. It's disgusting. It's despicable. You know, if you want to say you're a winning sports bettor, that's fine. But if you want to start charging people for picks, then that's where the morality comes in, you know, and you're basically robbing someone, because you're making them sign up, right, on a false pretense, right, on a false record, on a fake record. You know, people omit records. People, you know, say their bets. People delete tweets on Twitter. It's hilarious. I mean, it's not even hilarious. It's pathetic. It is kind of hilarious. It's one of them ones you have to laugh or you'll get angry or cry, you know. So, yeah, at the end of the day, transparency is number one. If you don't have to sign up with me, guys, you know, you can sign up with any tipster or you can bet yourself. It is what it is. I give a lot of free info out. But if you want to sign up with someone who does it professionally, just make sure they're tracked on a third-party website. And then also just make sure as a person they are, you know, they're legit, you know, and make sure they got a long-term track record as well. There's many things you can do, and I'll probably write an article one day how to choose a good tipster to tail, because there is a few things you need to know. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that, I guess. Thanks for the comment. Pilar Fist is saying that he's in Australia. Sundays are great. Sundays are amazing. Sundays are really good. Yeah, God, they make a huge change of getting up at 1 a.m. and the main fight comes on at 5 a.m. in the UK. God, I hated that so much. It's I love New Zealand so much, man. I really feel like it's my home, but it's definitely one of the reasons why I love the country so much, which is funny, right? You know, I'm probably saying that to you guys on the stream and you can appreciate it, but like, you know, people ask me a lot of the time, like, you know, in New Zealand, they'll ask me like, oh, you know, what's the difference between like London and New Zealand? Like, why do you like it so much? Because I always say, yeah, I love it so much, I'm going to stay here. Like, oh, why do you like it so much? You know, in my head, you know, I'm like I'll say the normal things, you know, oh, the quality of life's better, whatever, nature, you know, the weather, the people are nicer. And then in the back of my head, like I can feel myself saying UFC's on a Sunday, but you know, people won't really understand, you know, but you guys will probably understand. It's such a huge thing that I can watch the UFC just with peace, you know, with peace. It's so hard getting up at 3, 4 a.m. And I've got friends that do it, you know, I know people who bet on MMA back home and they do it. And, you know, my heart goes out to them because it's so stressful. It's not good for your life, you know, waking up at that time, you know. Very bad for your circadian rhythm. You know, you can't get into any type of real sleep. But, you know, this is not a health podcast, so I won't go too in depth. But yeah, man, Sundays are amazing. What We got Henry Wells here. Henry, I haven't seen you in the chat, haven't seen your name before, so thanks for coming on board, man. Henry's saying that he made 0.11 units on this card and was very happy. Yeah, it was that kind of card. You made 0.1 units and you was very happy. Yeah, I made 0.4 and I am very happy deep down. Initially when it happened, it felt like a bit of a loss just because the way the card was going. I really did think that we'd end up with quite a few units, but yeah, you're 100% right. You should be happy if you made any profit. If you broke even, if this thing here isn't red, if this isn't red, then you should be happy. That's the whole chat, I think now, guys. Look, thanks for coming on board. Hope this video wasn't too long. Just wanted to do a quick recap of how the year's gone so far, because we've got a little 1 week break now. I wanted to put out some content on YouTube, and there hasn't. I didn't do the free bet video for the last two cards. I was very ill for the midweek card, as I said, and then a couple of days later it was the other card, so I didn't really have time to do that, and I was just getting over being ill as well. So I didn't make the free bet video, but the free bet video will be out as usual for the next cards, unless I get horribly ill again, which I doubt. So thanks for tuning in. Again, links are in bio to my results, to my membership packages. You don't have to sign up. You can just go on my website and see everything I offer there. You can also put your website in the free tips page. You can also put your email address on my website on the free tips page, and I will send you free bets to your email inbox. That's the free bet that we get on the YouTube every week, but it's just easier. It goes straight to your inbox, so you can get on the line as soon as I send it to you. Remember, beating the closing line is one of the most important aspects of sports betting. So that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back shortly with some more content for you guys. I'm going to be putting out a lot more content, a lot more MMA betting on content, how to bet on MMA, how to bet on sports, the fundamentals of sports betting, what a bankroll is, what edges, how to find value, all of this stuff I'm going to be teaching on YouTube. So subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't, and you'll get updates from me anytime I release a video. So take care, bet smart, and up the bookies.